Alex, you there?
Oh, hello, Charlie.
Evening, mates. Good evening, everybody. I just want to start with this straight away. Someone called C.S. Gannon, who looks like a sort of Japanese hentai character, says Charlie is using Best Agent to steal houses. Do
Oh,
not trust him.
how are you stealing them? Do you put them on your back and carry them away?
I said, no, like, how can I do that? How can I, that's just hilarious.
Mm.
Damn, they've seen through me again. Oh, I keep being rumbled. Oh, fuck, the game's up.
You are the property Grinch.
Got away with it for a while. Managed to steal a good few houses through Best Agent.
Yeah.
Oh dear, what a loser.
Could you
Right.
still need one?
Sorry. Oh yeah. Is anyone else who would like me to steal them a house with Best Agent?
Four bed, 2 bath, perfect.
And if CS Gannon could come and let me know just how that works, it'd be brilliant. CS Gannon, I'll give you a cut, right? I'll give you a 10% cut if you can show me how to nick houses and sell them using a website. Genius. Right. I'm calling this video "The House Price Collapse is Well Underway." And I'm going to, because this time last year I had 250 subscribers. It's almost exactly a year since I did that video, this video.
Yep.
Let me just show you. So for those of you, this is the video that sort of kicked off the whole thing, right? And 1 year ago, it's had 124,000 views. Immediately below in the search, up comes Sasha Jansen's video for an hour ago. And in 1 hour, he's done 10,000 views. It just makes my look pathetic, doesn't it? But I would like to just recap something for the 15,000 odd of you who are new here since a year ago. It was February 2022 that I first went on video, and it's on this channel. In fact, if you go to the channel homepage, you'll see it's still the sort of the introduction video. February 2022, when I first said, I think we've just seen the peak of demand at the front line. Okay, and remember, there's never any reporting what's happening at the front line. And I said it in February because that's all I noticed was the relentlessness of the demand quite suddenly tailed off. There was still plenty of demand, but it wasn't this massive overkill of demand. Suddenly, it was sort of very, very quickly went from crazy demand to just demand. And then in May last year, so 3 months later, on the Best Agent YouTube channel, by the way, we're simultaneously broadcasting on the Best Agent YouTube channel tonight because I want agents to hear this as well. I said on the Best Agent Breakfast show in May last year, guys, this is when inflation really first started to spike. I knew what that meant for interest rates, and I knew what that meant for house prices. I said, guys, house prices are going to fall. Get ready. And I was ignored or laughed at. Then in August, I did that video saying 8 reasons UK house prices will collapse. Because by August last year, 1 year ago, it was, as far as I was concerned, an absolute certainty. It was just a question of time. It's a question of how long, because the property market takes a whole year, roughly, per transaction. That's how long it takes for what's happening at the front line to actually be reported in house prices. Yeah. And then in October, roughly, last year was when I said, and I'm calling the bottom as 35% off the peaks, nominal price drops over however long it takes from peak to trough. And lots of people went, Charlie says house prices are going to crash 35% this year. Which, of course, I never said. But this is not a told you so, by the way. Someone actually in the live chat said, tonight there's definitely going to be a told you so.
But you just said it.
No, there isn't going to be a told you so. What there is I'm trying to illustrate to you guys that whether you like it or not, whether you understand how or why or not, I have an unusual, arguably even a unique insight to what's happening in the housing market because of what I've done for a living for the last 20-something years. All right. Plus my background in the city and ability to sort of analyze the macroeconomic stuff as well. Plus my ongoing relationship with lots of estate agents as clients. And it was just, plus I've still working on it, but an ability to remove most of my confirmation bias. Not all of it, but most of it, and be pretty objective and just go, what's actually going to happen? So with that in mind, here we are in August 2023. What can I see happening at the front line, at the coalface, which is a phrase I can't remember why I wasn't allowed to say it, but I'm going to say it again anyway. What can I see happening now that isn't being reported yet? Well, it says it down there. Okay. It is, and the purpose of this video is a refresh on what's happening and why. And there was an article by John Stepek on Bloomberg, which I want to share in a minute, and I actually want to run through a couple of things. Because A, he made a couple of interesting comments that I think make it the sort of canary in the coal mine situation with Crest Nicholson, the house builder. And B, the really interesting graph in there, which, I don't know, I'd love to see what you think of it, Alex. Says what the graph shows. So what I think is happening now at the coalface is that house prices are falling at a sharper rate than they have done anytime since 2008, and at a far sharper rate than is being reported. And I'm also going to show you some best agent data. I already showed this morning on a video, but I want to just do it with Alex so we can pick it apart a bit and just start to see if I can help construct a picture of why I think house prices are already falling now very steeply at the coalface, why they're going to continue to fall for some time, and why there's no prospect of any economic upturn that's going to help lift them, including even, and this is where Alex might challenge me, wage growth. Because I think that there are small periodical anomalies in the wage growth house price. It's not an absolute perfect parallel track. It does that a little bit sometimes. So let me start. Any comments at this point, Alex?
No, that's all fair.
Okay, cool. So let me start. So this is, here we are. This is John Stepek's article. Let's just do that. No, let's not do that. Let's go back and do that. No, let's not do that. That's what I want to do. Here we are. Right. So this article, which was on Bloomberg, I think he published it yesterday, and it was entitled "The UK Housing Standoff is Squeezing Builders," which I think is putting it mildly. So this was because the house builder Crest Nicholson reported some much worse than expected results in their, whatever it was, first half results in June. Okay. And specifically the point that I picked up out of this was not about their share price. It was about this. It was, for Crest, that means sales have tumbled from already low levels. At its interim results, Crest reckoned it would sell half a house per sales outlet per week. In industry speak, its SPOW figure would come out at 0.5. But in the 7 weeks to the end of last week, that rate had collapsed to 0.25, half what they were expecting. In other words, it's only shifting one house per outlet every 4 weeks. For perspective, it was 0.72. So it's almost 1/3 of the first half of last year's figures. So this is worse than expected. And they talk about, so he goes on to say, prices are edging in the direction of buyers. Again, being very cautious with his language. I think edging is an understatement.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
Yeah. I like this paragraph there. The trading update ends with a paragraph along the lines of, things are tough right now, but we're sure they'll get better in the medium term. As soon as a management team rolls out the quotes medium term, you know that they can't see anything but fog on the horizon.
Absolutely.
And they're right on that front, because the latest data on asking prices, also out this morning, suggests the market is gradually crawling in the direction of, God, he couldn't make that any more pronounced. Because like, only just, but it is going towards buyers, but only just. Well, I think he's a bit behind the curve on that. Talks about right move figures there. And then there's this graph here, which I thought was interesting. So in this graph, he has very cleverly, I think, plotted right move asking prices against nationwide house prices, year-on-year percentage change. All right.
Yep.
So the blue bars are nationwide house prices, and the red line is Rightmove asking prices, and it's reporting year-on-year annual price change in percentage terms, starting as far back as 2003. Now, what I noticed is that in the previous two big drops, there was a drop here in 0405, and actually the Rightmove drop was leading the actual nationwide drop. In the steeper and deeper drop, again, it actually sort of tracked it very, very closely, and then slightly let it out of the dip again. So it was ahead of the curve there. But this time, it's doing something different, which is no, it's still growing. It's still growing. Asking prices holding on longer, even when the actual house prices are falling. I mean, I say actual. Nationwide as a lender, it's mortgage approvals, transactions that are expected. It's not completely accurate. It's a small sample, but still, there's a pretty strong correlation on that graph. Pretty strong. Not I mean, it's interesting that in 2012 prices were negative, but Rightmove thought they would be positive. But the rest of the place, I mean, there's this weird thing happened in 15, 16. Not quite sure why that was.
Oh, there was some weird stuff in 15, 16 anyway with house prices.
Right. Okay. So, and it just shows basically asking prices being much more optimistic. So that's one thing that I think is just what people are referring to as hopium.
Yeah.
And I think that also the difference between 2008 and now is the colossal amount of financial stimulus of one kind of or another, right? The financial or the credit turbocharging that has happened, that led to the buy-to-let boom that has happened and is now over, by the way. Definitely, lots of data out today. It's definitely over. Has genuinely created not so much guff as real expectations.
Yes.
The house prices aren't going to fall, they're going to keep going up. Genuine expectations. I spoke to someone today who's selling, who they're very close exchange, but the buyer, it was a down valuation yesterday, and they're like, we just can't believe it. We thought we'd already taken a huge amount off the price. And again, that's not the buyer renegotiating, that's the buyer's lender down valuing. There's just, and then again, I wanted to point out this article in The Guardian that goes on about how home builders shares, is that on the screen? Yes. Home builders shares tumble as UK housing market weakens as it happened. And it talks about the share prices. The news hit fellow house builders. This is the news, by the way, the news is Rightmove's asking price falls. The news hit fellow house builders as well as Crest Nicholson, who were among the worst fallers on the FTSE 100 by 3 p.m. on Monday, including Taylor Wimpey down nearly 5%, Barclay Group down nearly 3%, Persimmon down 2.5%, and Barratt Homes 2.5%. And I just want to think to myself, what were they expecting to happen?
Well, Charlie, okay. Can I interrupt your flow just for a couple of seconds and share a different graph?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me just see if I can do this. Share. Window. Bosh. Can you see that? It's not really visible to people, is it? Hold on.
That barely is just sharpening up now.
The text is too small. Hold on. Let me just whack this up massively. Oops.
Just read it out anyway.
Okay. If you can see, there's a blue line and a green line.
Yeah. Stop scrolling the screen. That makes it go.
I'm not scrolling. There's no.
Okay.
Oh, I'm just moving my mouse across it. Does that screw it up as well?
Yes. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. 1 second then. Right. So the green line. So these two lines are all sales transactions in the land registry since June of 2005, and the percentage of them that are new build versus existing properties.
Oh, yes.
The green line is the existing properties. And as you can see, it's always up around the 90% mark.
Don't use your mouse. Don't use your mouse.
Oh, sorry. It's always up around the 90% mark. And the new builds are always around the 10 to 15% mark, with the
Right.
exception of during June of from '08, during the crash. You can see that actually the number of existing properties as a percentage of transactions, which had fallen dramatically anyway, but as a percentage of transactions, the number of existing properties dropped to about 85%, and the number of new builds increased. And the reason for that was because Taylor Wimpey's shares and the Barrett's, etc., were all the same. They fell from £4.90 to 12 pence, a 97.5% fall. So when they're talking at the moment, when the papers have those headlines of Persimmon down 7%, Taylor Wimpey down 5%, it's a mere nothing in comparison with what happened then and what's coming. So what happened was they massively reduced their prices so they could at least sell some of their homes.
Right.
And that's why there was an uptick in purchase. However, look at the other end of the graph. Now, where the arrow is pointing is where we've actually got data till, which is only till
the bottom right-hand corner, right?
Yep.
So the bottom right-hand corner is the blue line is new builds, yes?
Yep. It has fallen
as a percentage of total sales.
Correct. It has fallen from an average, and we know that total sales have massively fallen.
Yeah.
But as a percentage, it's fallen from an average of 10 to 15 to 4% of sales. Now,
so new builds currently only account for 4% of sales. Up until what is that? Up till June?
February.
We
can't go any further.
February. My God, it's going to get worse than that.
Of course. And that's where the trend line, the dotted line, is a polynomial trend. Now, I'm not suggesting that it will actually go to zero, but if you look towards a February 2024 extrapolation, which is the bottom right corner, you can see that actually if it follows its current trajectory, new builds will make up 0% of all house purchases.
Wow. Yeah, which that's not going to happen,
No.
but it is very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Okay, all right. Well, now you've disrupted my train of thought.
Get back to telling us how a 5% fall in share price is big.
Well, exactly. It's not even that big. You're quite right. You're quite right. But yeah, again, I am more flabbergasted than all the investors are flabbergasted that Rightmove asking prices actually fell. Oh! But that never happens. I mean, yes, there was the August summer dip, is apparently usually 0.9% dip in August, but it was 1.9%, so more than double what's expected. And it's sparked some kind of panic. Now, I want to then, so that was yesterday morning, Rightmove's came out. Then we had Best Agents data came out today. And let's share this here. Let's get this.
Yeah, it's looking good now.
It's getting better. We've got to redesign. The layout is still confusing, so we're redesigning the layout of it, right? This is for England. This is snapshot data of all properties for sale in England that we can find. We have Wales done separately as well, right? But the median price it's actually dropped. It's nearly 4%. 1.8% was just in the last 2 weeks. So the percentage figures here are changes in the last 2 weeks. We've been doing a lot of data cleansing and stuff like that. So don't worry too much what the percentage figures say just there. I've got the actual figures from a month ago. A month ago, the median price of a home showing as sold was 290,000. So that's dropped £10,000 in a month.
Yeah.
The average price has dropped £6,000 in the same period, interestingly. And by the way, somebody asked me earlier in the comments, why is the median price always a round number and the average price always not? That's because of how the median is calculated. They actually pick a value. So they're not adding them all up and dividing by something to come up with whatever's, a very precise average figure. It's like, what is the center? You've got 100 records, 101 records. What's record number 50 or 51, whatever it is, right? The central record is the median. So the median tends to change less frequently. Why? Because there are lots and lots and lots and lots of houses for sale at £280,000 exactly, right? So the actual median point on the data set's got to move quite a long way before that drops.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a £10,000 drop in 1 month in the published asking price. So it's not the actual sale price. We don't know what that is. In the published asking price of properties showing a sale agreed. And actually, the average price has come down from 494. So ignore that 0.8% up. The average asking price of unsold stuff was 494 down to 486. So that's come down. And the median typical price, I did have it somewhere. I haven't got it. But down below, you can also see, because the supply and demand thing, right? That little pie chart is a ratio of for sale stuff to sold stuff. And what everyone's got to remember is this: at least 50% of the properties that come to the market never sell. And I know that's like a mind-blowing number.
Mm-hmm.
But when you take that into account, and there's data to support that, right? There was a study done by a stockbroker back in 2018 that showed that only 48.2% was selling. Anyway, if you think 50%, why is it never selling? Why does any property not sell? Because the price is too high.
Yeah.
So if 50% of the market is a bunch of properties on with an asking price that's never going to sell, what's the point of it? What is the point of it? So this is my point. What is the point of an asking price index? It's totally unhelpful. And there you are, a nice visual to show you the ratio of unsold stuff to sold stuff. Sold stuff in green, that's before fall throughs, by the way. And the fall through rate at the moment, anecdotally, the fall through rate at the moment is very, very high. Now, so this to me all supports, because, okay, let me explain. I've got so many assumptions in my head that I think everyone knows, and I've got to remind myself that they don't, right? The actual agreed price is way below the published asking price. Zoopla said it. They said that, I think they said 42% of properties are selling at more than 5% below asking price, or something like that. I think the reality is actually greater than that as well. So you can probably take another at least 15 grand off that £280,000 price. And then we're starting to look at falls. I mean, these falls are definitely accelerated because this median sold price has been sticking around 295, 290 most of this year.
Yeah.
Again, partly because of the high value properties selling. The great downsizing is, I think, is what's happening. And now it's starting to fall quite suddenly. As Alex and I have said, the second half of 2023 was when we start to see house price falls accelerate, which is why I'm saying the collapse is now well underway, and it's only going to accelerate. Why is it going to accelerate? Well, for that, I'm going to just ask Sasha Yanshin to just give me a few seconds of his latest video that's only out an hour or two ago. Is that on there? Let's just hear what he's got to say for just like about 30 seconds.
Zero. And now we have something like 200,000 people a month coming off those fixed-term mortgages and seeing their mortgage payments double regardless of whether you fix, roll onto the standard rate, do whatever you want. Nobody is really talking about it in the media, but we are going to see an entire generation of people not be able to afford to pay their mortgages. This is extremely serious. Data from UK Finance shows that the number of mortgages has been consistently falling over the last 2 years since interest rates started going up. But look at the arrears data. In the last year, we have already seen a 9% increase in homeowners falling behind on mortgage payments and a 59% increase in buy-to-let landlords doing the same. But if you look deep,
59% increase to let landlords getting into arrears in a year.
Yeah.
That when all their rents are going up so high.
Yeah, there is one problem, Charlie. That only went back to 2020. If you go all the way back to 2000, you'll find that as we move forwards from 2000, 2004, and then 2007, the actual numbers in total are substantially bigger than they are now. Now, I know we're just starting out.
Yeah. No, I know that the actual numbers are still quite small. I get that.
Correct.
It's a big increase. Well, it's a significant increase from a low base. I do get that. I do get that. But what he goes on to say, and I recommend everyone goes and watches that video. Just look Sasha Yanshin on YouTube. It's his video, just the most recent one, right? He goes on to talk about the delinquency buckets of defaults and how they snowball.
Yep.
And when you look at the fact that people coming to the end of their rates, what's happening to interest rates, etc., etc., he said, you can see the maths. It's just going to snowball the number of people, and it's going to make next year an absolute bloodbath.
Horrible. We've always said 24 will be the worst year, and again, I've noticed a couple of comments going on about why are you doom mongering, or why are you trying to prove a point here? Part of this is house prices, and that's certainly, I think, Charlie, your main driver, because you are wanting to help people move home. But the only reason that I've helped out or tried to help out since August of last year is more on a macroeconomic scale. More, all the other things are going to fall apart, and housing is just one of these things. So it's not that anyone's trying to prove a point or that we're doom mongering, just that people who are thinking about job changes, people who are thinking about buying a new property, people who are thinking about lots of big life decisions at the moment need to know that it's not a bed of roses out there waiting for them.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And actually, thank you, because you've reminded me of something that I wanted to reiterate now. I'm here to help people move, whether they're buying or selling. I couldn't give a stuff what's happening to prices. I do want better affordability for everyone, because my ultimate and my repeatedly stated mission is a home for everyone. Moving Home with Charlie's stated mission is a home for everyone. On the Best Agent channel, my stated mission is the end of bad estate agency, which is a prerequisite in order to get a home for everyone, right? I could go talk about it. I would talk about Connells and their conditional selling and mortgages and all that kind of shit, and why people aren't the conduct of some big corporate agents, some, not all big corporate agents, why they are making the housing crisis worse. Their corporate policies actually do. I am here because I want everyone to have a home. I'm here to help people avoid the tricks of the trade that see people get sucked up into the machine of vested interest and spat out, having had, basically being rinsed. So with the question, why are you doom mongering? Alex and I, both for different reasons, have developed a fairly healthy ability to objectively look at what's happening and call it as we see it, good or bad. Agreed, Alex?
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fact, we constantly fact check each other.
Yes.
All the time, right?
Well, I just did 2 seconds ago with the video and the landlord percentage.
Exactly. Yeah. Up. So it's not that Alex and I are sort of happy purveyors of doom.
No, not at all.
That's not the point. We maybe have a sense of gallows humor that sometimes comes across as, haha, isn't it hilarious? Everything's fucked. But
always look on the bright side of life.
Whatever we're reporting, we just want to do it with some humor, okay? But because why not? Otherwise, it'd be very dull, very dull.
Yeah. And
this week, we've seen that the ONS has reported that real wages have fallen again. I mean, who'd watch that? Who'd watch that, right? So we're here to help people move, buying or selling, I don't care. And at the moment, the biggest problem with moving is the friction. It's a nightmare. I'm not going there tonight. Another video on that very soon, because I really am frustrated with what's happening. So there's what we've now got reported in the media happening with Rightmove's asking prices in land registry, and this is basically very much in arrears. Okay, it is lagging indicators. I'm trying to give you the best insight that I can to what's happening today at the front line, at the coalface. And Alex and I enjoy doing analysis of what the economy is going to do, because what the economy is going to do affects people's jobs, ability to pay mortgages, interest rates, inflation, and therefore the likelihood of the housing market doing one thing or another, looking ahead into the future, which is how we are able to come to a reasonably strongly held conclusion that we're fucked.
Yep. Plankman, you are 100% correct.
What's he said?
He said, this is the crash that should have been allowed to happen in 2008.
Yeah. So in this video, I've got so far as that's what's happened in the media. Here's what Best Agent is showing you happening today at the front line, the coalface, and what's coming next. And this is where I think that point about mortgages is important, because it suggests, and even if you factor in the government getting the banks to agree to a 12-month stay of execution for repossessions, they're just pushing that can down the road.
Yes.
Because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Right? If you lose your job and can't get another one, you can't afford it. If your interest rate's gone up to a rate you can't afford now because it's so much higher than when you took out your mortgage,
But
that's
you
it.
You know what people are like, Charlie. You know that person who loses their job, they'll get 3 months redundancy, let's say. They'll say, well, okay, I'll set myself a goal. If I can get a job within the time, then it'll be fine. It's all good. And then they'll get to the end of the 3 months and they'll make another excuse for why they should have another 3 months.
Yeah.
And it won't be long before the year's gone by and the bank comes knocking. And it's human nature. Even though they know that the right thing to do is, as soon as they lost their job, put the house on the market and look for something else, they won't do that, because the last thing you want to let go of is the home that you've spent 6 months, 2 years, 10 years making your own.
Yeah. And not only that, I think so many sellers never factor in how much time it takes to sell,
or buy,
what could happen in that time, and how much they will wish they had moved faster to begin with.
Yeah.
I had someone send me a message the other day, private message, saying, "Hi Charlie, I've been on the market for over a year now. I keep dropping my price by 10 grand every couple of months. And it's still not working. What am I doing wrong?"
You're dropping it by 10 grand every couple of months.
Instead of having started, like, and he finished off with, "Do you think I should change agent?"
No. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe, but
no. Well, definitely. It's like, it's. But again, I mean, I'm laughing. I'm not laughing at that person. I'm laughing because, I have repeated. So people who've watched this and sellers who've watched my videos will hopefully not have made that mistake about chasing the market down. Right? That's the market. That's your house price, your asking price. You will never sell if you do that. You've got to drop your price to there.
Yep.
So for a brief period of time of a few weeks, it looks really cheap, right? And all the buyers who are there, and there are plenty of buyers out there, are going to go, "That's the one to buy. It's the only one with a sensible price." Whoomp. You get competing bidders. You get it sold quickly at the best price you're going to get today, and it'll happen faster. It's an asking price is so meaningless if it's too high. It just means you won't get your house sold. So I think slowly there are more and more sellers waking up. Again, what I'm hearing from agents is that there are now two camps. There are the sellers who are just going, "I'm going to wait it out. I'm just going to wait it out."
Yeah. And some of them can. Well, some of them,
No. What they mean is they're going to wait another month or another 2 months.
Well,
Expect to find that one person that's just going to come and pay their asking price. And then the other ones are going, "Okay, we must sell. What do we have to do to sell?" Now, the problem at that point is, if you are one of those sellers who has arrived at reality, congratulations, welcome to the party. But you're with a crap agent and you don't know what the right price is to lower it to. You've got the problem of an agent going, "Oh, we'll knock another 10 grand off. That should do it." And they haven't done any proper analysis to see what the price should be for your home.
No.
Right? And what they should be saying is this: let's look at all of the homes comparable to yours in this area that are on the market that are under offer and selling. Let's look at the asking price of those and let's price yours just below that.
Yeah, makes sense.
If your agent isn't telling you to do that, you tell your agent to do that. It's so important. If you just keep on doing that, you'll still have the same problem. You'll never catch it. You've got to get below it. You've got to get below it when it's a falling market. You don't have this problem in a rising market. If it's a bit too high, you wait a bit and eventually the market comes up. So that's, I do see this continuing to get worse. It's going to feel, because we've been expecting for so long, it feels like it's taking forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think things are going to go unravel because, again, you posted an article this afternoon, didn't you, about was it the Bank of England warning about corporate debt?
Yes, although for anyone who actually follows you on Twitter and may have seen the conversations earlier, there were two things. The Bank of England, first of all, published the Telegraph published a piece about debt based on the Bank of England analysis, which said that 50% of companies were going to be stressed. This is large and mid-sized companies were going to be stressed by their debt levels because they had less than 2.5 on their coverage technical. You can look it up on the Bank of England. And I said, you don't need a crystal ball. And you turned around and went, no, well, it's obvious, it's all there, which upset me because I thought that you thought that I was magic and I just made all this stuff up. But then I actually got challenged, and this happens very rarely. I got challenged by somebody called Staffy, who I have no idea who they are.
No, ignore him. 0 followers, following one person, just creating an account to troll.
But he tells me the headline is wrong, which means the FT is wrong, Bloomberg's wrong, and Telegraph is wrong. And that's true sometimes because it happened over COVID. So I asked him to tell me, and he just won't respond. And I have not felt this bad and confused about being wrong in inverted commas since I was married. The last time I had no idea what I'd done wrong, I mean, I had a wife, and now it's just you and Staffy. It's terrible.
Right, we've got some really cool questions here, but I think I want just to wrap up the trajectory of house prices. Which is not what I want, by the way, anybody. This is what I'm expecting to happen. Okay. And someone asked me a while ago, no one's asked me for a while, well, Charlie, what do you think should happen? What will be the best case scenario? The best case scenario, which is totally hypothetical, it could never happen in real life, would be for house prices to go completely static, not fall, to stay nominally the same, and to allow wage growth to basically devalue them and slowly become more affordable. That would be the least damaging path to affordable homes for everybody.
And in order for that to happen, the Bank of England would have to have timed their interest rate raises and eventual slight lowering perfectly, so that inflation dropped away but did not become a full deflation.
Yeah.
We ended up hitting our 2% target. Private companies would have to be able to service their debt, although we've just heard that 50% of them are going to struggle, 70% of the smaller companies.
Yeah.
And they would have to continue to award wage growth, which means pay rises, which means that our productivity would have to increase in order for them to do that. So we'd have to sell something new into a new market. And that seems kind of unlikely that all of those things would happen at the same time. But that's the unicorns dancing on rainbows.
Yeah. I know it's not going to happen. It's hypothetical. So, but just because I know a lot of people who watch this go, you just want it. You want to crash. Do you know? Here's why I don't want to crash. I do want affordable housing, but I don't want to crash because a crash is going to wipe a lot of people out. A crash is going to. By the way, I don't think there's a crash happening. It's a slide, not a crash. House prices never crash; they always slide. But I don't want house prices to collapse because that's going to ruin a lot of people's lives.
Mm.
Right. So I have no interest in house prices collapsing. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I can see is going to happen. That's why I'm reporting it, because I'm trying to minimize the number of people who end up caught in that trap of having bought at the top. And I know that there are so many people, even people who've watched these videos last year, who've still gone out and bought.
Can we just extend that crystal ball look even further into the future? Not just will it impact a lot of people's lives if house prices crash now, it will reduce inheritance amounts and mean that the people of the next generation, who, let's face it, don't have the pensions, don't have all of the wealth that our previous generation have, will inherit even less, and therefore they will never have the standard of living. I mean, absolutely no chance of having the standard of living that, for instance, our parents had.
No. So whilst I do want to have more affordable homes for everyone, so prices coming down is good in that sense. It's not what I want. It's just what I expect to happen. Liam Jones is asking, "Are you taking questions tonight?" Yes, I am. If you want to, I'm about to come on to questions now. Jesus, we're going 40 minutes. So many good questions already coming through. So if you've got a question, please put question at the beginning of your comment. It makes it much easier to see them. I have now going to be taking some at random. We've had a couple of paid ones as well, so thank you guys for those. But I'm going to start off with the ones that I've tagged. Here we go. Pinned. I've got 12 so far.
Wow.
Right. This is really interesting. Freddie Moses, who says, I'm a valuer for a big corp. That means he is a listings guy for a large corporate estate agency, right? I'm assuming that's what you mean, Freddie. Thank you very much for the $5, by the way. Appreciate it. I'm a valuer for a big corp, and jobs have fallen off a cliff, as in valuation appointments. 0 today, 1 tomorrow. These guys are normally doing 5 to 10 of those appointments a day. Buying myself and thinking of pulling out. Wow. So, Freddie, could you just confirm, if you're still watching, that you are in fact an estate agent who's buying yourself and thinking of pulling out? And lots of kisses to you too. Thanks very much. Next question. R. Hemery of Oak Close says, Charlie and Stig, why do you say demand was boosted by COVID money and not by rich people wanting larger rural houses due to working from home? Furlough didn't boost incomes, it only maintained them. Furlough boosted disposable income because people weren't allowed out to spend it.
Correct. So it's not furlough so much as being locked down meant that we generated vast savings. There were huge amounts of cash, and people wanted to find a way to spend it. And they went, well, I could build an extension, or I could just buy myself a bigger house.
Not only that, a lot of bounce back loan money, I think, probably went into property purchasing one way or another.
And Freddie has answered, he is a RIC surveyor and valuer.
He's a RIC surveyor.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, Freddie, I've heard on the commercial side, life is tough all over at the moment.
Kyle Kundle says, if prices are collapsing in the mainstream, could it be used as a reason to renegotiate an agreed price if at the start of the buying process? Now, I've taken this question because I get this question a lot, and I want to repeat it for as many people here as possible. The only reason that would be used for renegotiating a price, an agreed price, is because the news has made you uncomfortable with the price that you previously agreed. It shouldn't be used as an excuse to chip a few grand off. That's frankly a stupid thing to do, and you'll end up probably losing the deal and wishing you hadn't. However, if the news in the mainstream media makes you feel like you're overpaying to the point where you're no longer prepared to pay the agreed price, and you are prepared to walk away if they don't accept the renegotiation, then renegotiate, and only then. Because otherwise you'll be added to the pile of people who making the, honestly, there's no other word for it, it's a stupid mistake. Lots of people do it, by the way. People I know and love have made this very stupid mistake, which is thinking, oh, I reckon we can get a few grand off this. And they go in and go, oh, right, well, we've seen all the news and this, that, and the other, and so we want to take some money off our price. And the sellers go, off you fuck. That's it.
Yeah, be prepared to walk away.
You know, the sellers just go, no. And that we weren't even that sure. Now we're definitely not selling to you. And people lose purchases they're trying to make all the time when they wish they hadn't. In other words, they kick themselves and gone, that wasn't worth trying to save a few grand. No. So only if, and this is happening a lot right now for obvious reasons, you are feeling deeply uncomfortable with the price that you've agreed. In other words, you now feel like you're overpaying and should no longer be paying that price, to the point you feel so strongly that you're actually going, you know what, I won't pay that price. It's too uncomfortable. I feel like I'm overstretching myself. Only then, and what you must do is you must say it by email and say, circumstances have changed. I'm no longer prepared to proceed at the price we initially agreed. I'm now only prepared to proceed at the following price. I understand if that's not acceptable, that then I'll be walking away and looking for something else to buy. In other words, be really clear that you're not just having a chip and a go, right? Be very clear that you're absolutely serious. This is your new offer. You understand it may not be acceptable, in which case you're happy to walk away, but you hope that they will accept your new offer because that's the price at which you're happy to proceed. Only in those circumstances should you risk it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I hope I made that really clear.
One sec, Charlie. Freddie, I really hope that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed for you.
Hang on, no one knows what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, you can't see the chat. Freddie has said, at Moving Home with Charlie, I suspect that I will be out of a job in a month if this continues.
Oh, no. I hope not.
And this is Charlie, we're going to see more and more of these sort of comments. And Freddie, I got my fingers crossed for you, mate. Good luck.
On Oh, Kyle, I've lost your. No, I've answered your question now, Kyle. So next question. Multi Beast on YouTube says, question, when you say don't overpay, whilst I agree, what are some tips on valuing a property for its current market value when some neighbours have overpaid in the recent rising market? The tips are, work out the maximum price you're prepared to pay for that property. That is the only way to value a property you want to buy. You shouldn't be affected by what other people have been paying elsewhere, left, right, and centre. If there are other people offering more than you're offering, walk away. Don't overpay because other people are bidding up and overpaying, unless you can afford to and you want to, if you're comfortable doing that. But every single purchase and every single buyer will have their own unique amount that is the maximum amount that they're comfortable to pay for that property in these circumstances, taking everything into account. Make that offer. That's and it shouldn't have any relation to the asking price or percentage on the asking price. It's your maximum comfortable price. Never go above it. Walk away if it's not accepted. There are no exceptions to that. The amount will vary for different people, right? You know, if you're someone who's buying cash and you're just buying a little, third property for fun, and it's chump change to you, and you decide you can't be bothered to go looking for another one, you might just decide to come in with 50 grand over everyone else because you can't be asked to go look for another one. If you're comfortable doing that, that's fine. You're comfortable overpaying because it's worth it to you for convenience reasons. But it depends on your own personal financial situation and personal circumstances. Next one. Ian Thomas 89 says, could you plot graphs of monthly, median, and average asking prices in Best Agent to allow viewers to intuitively see temporal trends and trajectories? Loving the content. Thank you, Ian. In due course, that will happen. So at the moment, what we're trying to do, I mean, this is a very, very large data set, and it's morphing every single day. So it's like dealing with a live, kind of picture it like Jabba the Hutt, right? Just slithering around all the time, and you're trying to pin it down and get stats out of it.
You need to hand solo that Jabba.
Yes. But yes, once we've actually pinned down the data quality and we're happy with it, we do have all the segmentation by type and area and postcode and count, but we're just there's no point in starting to release that stuff until we're really happy, and then we'll start to also record historical stuff too. Looking forward to that. It's going to be great fun when we can get to do that. Will Reese makes the point, big crash equals very strict lending criteria.
Oh yes, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. We're going to see lenders looking for people who have gold-plated credit ratings in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah. This is a really good question and a very fair question. Silverbud1 says, in the same way you spotted a turn in the market to the downside, what kind of confirmation will you expect to see to indicate a reversal is underway, indicating the market has hit the bottom? In my particular situation, the first thing I will see and hear is from estate agents. That's the first thing I'll see. An uptick in buyer registrations will be the very first sign, right? A noticeable uptick in buyer registrations, an uptick in people booking viewings, an uptick in buyer activity will be the very earliest sign.
Okay, for me, it'll be productivity and wages.
Yeah, they are lagging indicators of what's going to happen with actual house prices because of the delay in house price reporting and stuff, So whether that happens at the same time, who knows?
No, they will be leading indicators of your house prices. So wages, when we see wages.
Sorry, what I meant was when they start to improve, it won't translate into instantly higher house prices.
No, it'll take 6 months to a year. I mean, definitely a year.
That's the point.
But the moment that you see real wages stop falling, and at the moment, people will tell you real wages are rising, and technically they really are pretty close. But I think that's going to stop soon when we hit a recession.
Well, I would like to. I agree. They're going to stop soon when we hit a recession. But I have a question about this data. This is the page. I meant to bring this up earlier. This is the page on the ONS website which reports average weekly earnings. Right there, it is. For August, so that's the most recent one, and it has this statement:
693 quid or whatever.
well, whatever. But the point is, look at this. The estimates in this bulletin come from a survey.
Yeah.
Can we see the survey? Of businesses.
Yep.
Really?
And it's a relatively small subset of businesses.
Do they provide the data?
No, not that I've ever found.
So it comes from a survey of businesses. I mean, that's so vague. It is not possible to survey every business each month. Well, it would be if you did the tech. So these statistics are estimates based on a sample.
Charlie,
Sample.
It would be if you had CBDCs.
Don't go there.
Well, I'll tell you what, did you see, I can't remember which newspaper it was, but did you see the headline this morning that the average FTSE 100 CEO had a £500,000 pay rise in the last year?
I did, yes.
Right. So if you want to look at percentage increase in weekly wage, you want to be looking, as we've discussed many times, it's finance and business and consultancy services are the ones where they've got the biggest pay increases. And guess what? It's not their low paid staff. My money, and we don't know because we don't see the survey results, but my money is on the fact that it's the people at the top that are paying themselves an awful lot more, and the people at the bottom are not getting all that much.
I completely agree. And actually, you've reminded me that I wanted to say earlier about house prices that I see much bigger falls at the higher end prices than I do at the lower end prices, because I think people are downsizing. I think that people are selling, especially older generations, they're selling up, downsizing and buying cash, so that first time buyers are not going to see price falls as big as they would like.
No, but likewise, I assume you're seeing bigger falls in the south, anywhere below the Midlands, than you are in the north.
Oh yeah.
Even as a percentage, not as a pound,
but
as a percentage.
London and the southwest had the biggest year-on-year falls in Rightmove asking prices this month.
Yeah,
3.2% year-on-year falls, and 2.5% in the southeast. Visual Ghoul says, "Congrats on finding a place to live." Thank you. Have you noticed how much happier? I had a slightly better demeanor in the last few days, haven't I? I mean, I've got a bit busier as well. I think this is my third video today, I think.
Yes, and one was a radio interview.
So yeah, I definitely feeling better. Thank you very much, Visual Ghoul. Much appreciated. Glenn Watson on YouTube says, "Charlie, great advice." Thanks, Glenn. "Dropped my price and got offers." It's that fucking simple, people. If you are selling and you're not getting offers, your asking price is too high. It's not that it won't sell. It's that your price is too high.
It's too high. It's always that the price is too high.
It's always that. Oh, it's 11:30 in the morning. Never a good time to sell a house. And and it's the wrong kind of leaves on the line and the wrong kind of snow. And actually, the
cherry blossom not fall correctly.
All the people who want to buy my house, they're all on holiday at the moment, all at the same time. It's not the price. It's not the price. It's definitely the price. Maybe they aren't coming because they haven't seen how beautiful my new kitchen is. If only they could see my new kitchen and how much money we spent on it, they'd understand that the price is fair. We spent 50 grand on this kitchen, so that's put at least 50 grand on value of the house. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't.
No.
It's like extras on a car. If you buy 5 grand of extras on a car when it's brand new, it doesn't make it worth 5 grand more when you come to sell it later. So many people, so Glenn goes on to say, "A lot of upsizing houses in my area are still at prices above their worth. Assuming I don't chase prices, will next year provide more options?" Yes, next year will provide a lot more options. I take no pleasure in saying this. Next year is going to be grim. In most ways for many people.
Yep.
There's nothing funny about that. There's nothing funny about that. I think there's nothing to joke about that. It's going to be just grim. It's just, and we've had it relatively so good for so long that it's just outside people's scope of comprehension that things could get as bad as you and I think they're going to get, Alex. Which brings me on to this point. Question from Jamal or Jame L. "Have you ever considered doing a stream, maybe once a month, where you and Stig both go over general economics, explaining how exactly we are all fucked?"
Well, I can tell you how. Basically, we've been bent over. There is absolutely zero lubricant, and it's not going to be comfortable. That's how. As to what led up to that event, yeah, we could do. What do you reckon?
I mean, I think we're kind of doing that already, aren't we? Sort of.
Mm.
But I think if you want to have if you haven't seen it already, go and look up our video called "Welcome to 2025," which is Alex reading out a little fictional story, an example of what he saw happen in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
Never
well,
seen that,
that only covers housing. It doesn't really cover economics. If you have a look at death in poverty, is the other one that
Yes.
if you look that up,
Yeah.
I cover CBDCs and all of the rest of that sort of stuff, and also QE and what happened from 2007 2008. So,
actually, so one more quick question here. Aaron Hughes says, Charlie, have you any advice on how to identify problem neighbors when looking for a property, especially after hearing about your recent experience? I spend time, I always turn up early to a viewing, like really early, half an hour to an hour early. Just potter about, take a look around, just get a feel. No one knows why you're there, what you're doing. And just keep quiet and observe what's happening around that area. Recently, after one of the houses, the very first house we looked at, the one we had our time wasted on massively. As we left, I saw a chap outside washing his car. I stopped and got out and had a chat with him, just asked him about the area, and he just gushed forth really information. He said, "Oh, this is how long I've lived here, and this is why I'm here, and this is the good things, this is the bad things." You can ask that kind of stuff, and you only have to go a few doors away, and they'll know if number 32 is a problem. So that's worth doing. Just ask anyone that's around. I mean, look for signs of it as well. How do the neighbours' properties look like?
yes, is that front lawn mown?
Well, that's rather a posh thing to say, Alex. Have they mown their lawn? Because if they haven't mown their lawn, my goodness me.
Well, most importantly, is the paint on the picket fence emulsion, or is it actually weatherproof silk? Because it makes an enormous difference to the character.
Are they using Farrow and Ball or Designers Guild paint?
Peasants, I tell you.
Now, everyone, I would like to remind a lot of you who won't know this that Alex gives his time to us for nothing. His time, his wisdom, his energy, his humor. And if you would like to buy Alex a drink, I'm sure he'd appreciate it. And I would appreciate you buying Alex a drink. And if you go to that URL, buymeacoffee.com/AlexGround, uppercase O, weird URL, which I'll put in the description after this video. Please go and buy Alex a drink. Because he'd appreciate it.
I would be very appreciative. Thank you very much if anyone does.
You won't spend it on coffee. That's the thing you should know.
Not a chance in hell. I've actually got a nice bottle of Sauvignon Blanc here at the moment, which is seeing me through. I'm amazed that you're dry.
I know I'm dry for a while now.
God.
I've yes, as of yesterday. No,
Freddie, you found me out. He said, "Lol, you don't paint a fence with emulsion." I'm sorry. My decorating days are long past.
Right. Is there any? I want to see if there are any other great questions we've missed. Oh my god, we've been going for an hour. It is fun though. I love doing this. Freddie Moses says, "Yeah, let's be honest. The UK is not the place it once was. It certainly isn't. It's very sad."
It's one of the things we discuss in that video, Death in Poverty, is whether we're still a first world country.
Yeah. Question. Okay, Sab on YouTube asks, 265k property, mortgage 139k. Am I at risk of negative equity?
Unlikely.
It's very unlikely. It's very unlikely. You got almost 50%, 45% deposit there. So I mean, it's not impossible. It depends where you are, because I have said that my 35% peak to trough predictions are an average for the country, that some places will fall 50%, some only 15%. So if you overpaid when you bought it at the top of the market and it falls 50%, then you might be, but you'd be seriously unlucky. Seriously unlucky. McDeegs asks, How would another potential lockdown affect the housing market? I don't want to fucking think about it.
They're not
I
going to
don't
do
want to
that.
think about
They
it.
can't
Oh, they're
afford it.
talking about there's already the
No, it's rubbish.
mutterings
They
about
know
the-
it's rubbish. They know it's rubbish. Ever since Omicron, COVID, and I apologize to anyone this upsets, COVID is not really killing people. So they will not have another lockdown. We cannot
No, I don't
afford it
think so, actually.
economically. And
No,
it
and
kills
there's now enough data to prove that actually it was counterproductive anyway.
Yes, it kills more people than it saves.
Yeah, look, exactly. And still is, actually, I think. Aaron Hughes asks again, will one-bed flats be seeing interest from downsizers? What would be the best time to buy for these size properties? If you're a single downsizer, absolutely yes. You'll be up against downsizers. Sorry, if you're a single, yeah, that's right. So first-time buyers will be seeing competition for that. Typically, I think there tends to be 2-3 bedroom places.
Correct.
Right, this is a great question. Chris Cooper, thank you. This is a great question I want to answer now. Why are new developments still at the same price, brackets, some increased, since 12 months ago? Why aren't they running with the downturn and selling instead of hanging on to them? This is a two-part answer, and Alex will give the second part because he gave it to me earlier on the phone when we were discussing this. The first part of the answer is this. For reasons to do with their accounting, for reasons to do with their share price, and for reasons to do with staff in these companies holding onto their jobs, more importance is put on the average sale price being achieved than it is on the profit margin. So what you'll see is that all these house builders have said, our average sale price per unit has stayed the same or even gone up, but our profit margin is halved. Okay?
Yes.
Why? Because they're giving away cashback incentives, they're giving away free cars, they're giving away upgraded kitchens, all that kind of stuff. So they're doing this to try to hold out some prospect of making a profit. And what I would always say to people is, if they're offering valuable upgrades, things like kitchens that you really want to be nicer, or extra work done to the house, or something that's a material upgrade.
I thought the one thing was when you got a car. I thought it was the car was the piece that finally did it. No,
don't take a car and don't take cash back. Just say no, knock that off the price, you bastards. Now, what was the other part of the question? Was what you said to me on the phone earlier, Alex.
Oh, you mean about resi developers just downing tools and leaving a site?
Yeah.
It's something that a lot of people don't know, and it certainly holds true for commercial, and I believe, because planning is the same, that it would hold true for resi as well, which is that once you get planning permission on a site, you have a set date within which you have to start work, and if you don't start work, you lose your planning permission. But all you have to do is do some groundwork. So you've just got to dig a trench. Just dig a fucking trench, and then you can go away and you keep planning permission in perpetuity. So you can wait until the market picks up. You dig your trench, and then everyone just leaves it, just goes away. And you wait until such time as you think you can make a profit on, as somebody else put it on your feed earlier, the Weetabix buildings that residential property currently is, because I agree, the quality is just shocking. But that's because the land values are so high that in order to make a profit, they are using relatively weak materials, and they'll blame it on the green stuff. But yeah, they dig a trench, they go away, they've lost nothing, they still own the land, and they're not paying for the labor because they've sacked all of the subcontractors off, and they keep their planning permission forever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's very interesting to know, isn't it? So they don't lose anything by hanging on to it for a while. Okay, got some really cool questions coming in here. Are you still okay to keep going, or are you gasping for a fag?
That's all right. Monty bought me another bottle of wine, so all is good.
Okay, so next question is, one moment, caller. Frey Evans says, how do you think the slide will affect flats as opposed to houses? It will depend very much on where you are, on the demographics and the situation in the economy, and what's happening to employment in those areas. But generally speaking, all else being equal, I think houses are going to do worse than flats in this downturn. Prices are going to fall further on houses than flats, because it's the lower end of the market where the competition is the most and where the affordability is the best. So I suspect flats Although having said that,
flats have done very badly for the last 15 to 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the important thing to know.
so they haven't got far to fall either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, people, I've had people tell me because of your channel recently that they bought a flat in, so I can't remember, 2016. And in fact, when they sold it only last year, when it was supposed to be at its peak, all they got was the same price that they had actually paid for it in 2016. Flats in London in some areas and around the country just have not done all that well ever since 2007, 2008.
Yeah, exactly. Right, next question. When will the mainstream media focus on house price slide? That's a good question, Aaron. They won't do it until they've got credible evidence of it. Okay, that's why they don't predict it, because they don't like doing stories that they can't back up with data from official sources. Okay, so until the Land Registry says it, or Nationwide or Halifax, until they show it actually sliding and has been sliding far enough for long enough, which is, by the way, it's coming. Don't worry, it's definitely coming. But it's too late. You know, the point is, it's too late for people. All the sellers being caught off guard by this is terrible. But that's down to that. Next question from Sotiri Georgiou. How similar is this downturn to the downturn that occurred in Japan in the 90s?
Completely different.
Okay.
Sorry, let me just, it's completely different because Japan actually had a massive boom. They had a massive boom in productivity. Their stock price went through the roof. The Japanese were seen as, and you will remember the timing, you remember every single piece of electronics came out of Japan. Japan was going to be the next massive thing. Yeah. Unfortunately, they just overcooked it enormously, and they have suffered for 30 years because of it. We have had a temporary boom, partly because of COVID, but also because this was going to happen anyway back in 2019. All COVID did was delay it. If you looked back at 2019, you would have seen the signs of a recession coming. And I actually, before COVID, at the end of 2019, I was saying, we look like we might be going into bloody recession if we don't do some. And then COVID came along, and suddenly they could print another 500 billion, and bosh, away we go.
I remember feeling exactly the same. I remember having exactly those feelings in early 2020, thinking, "Ooh," just before the lockdown started, thinking, "Yeah, it was very toppy."
Yes.
Matthew Haynes, this is a really good question, and I don't know the answer to this. How can we convince family that news headlines don't match reality during the slide? Well, I mean, I've had a similar. How can you convince family of anything? Family don't tend to believe family or listen to family.
My father thinks I'm a drunk.
I've had my own family ask me my advice and opinion and then completely ignore it. And it's funny. I can see the way they're looking. When they ask me a question, they want one answer. I don't give them that answer, and they look at me as if, yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm not going to listen to you.
I'm terribly sorry, my boy, but I'm afraid you're just as snot-nosed and useless as you were when you were 13.
Yes. I am going to just use this opportunity quickly as well to remind everybody that for those of you who are out there buying, I know it's not a lot at the moment, especially because, I mean, August is always very, very quiet, right? But there are three things you should have. One thing you must have, and two other things you should have ideally if you're out buying, which will improve the chances of your offer being accepted, whatever your offer is. And that is to have a mortgage in principle in place. Find your own independent whole of market mortgage broker. If you don't have one or you can't be bothered to find one, come and use my guys who I trust. I've been working with them for a year now. They're awesome. That URL down there, mhwc.co.uk/mortgage. For my guys, Graham and Lewis. And Lewis, thank you for watching. Good night. Good evening, I mean. And number two, have a conveyancer lined up as well. A bunch of you listened to me say this the other day. I don't know what I said differently, but a whole bunch of you went, "Oh, okay," and a whole load of you actually got in touch with my conveyancing partners. So again, have your conveyancer lined up, because what it shows is that you're that much more of a serious buyer, that much less likely to fall through, and therefore, if you're up against any other buyers, a buyer with a conveyancer already lined up is a better buyer than one that doesn't have one lined up, if everything else is the same. And number three, offer to purchase your property search pack the day they accept your offer. that will take weeks off the transaction time. And you can get your property search pack from me here as well. Now, here's another question. Do you know of anyone who's offered lower price than advertised for a new build? How much they offer? I'm so glad you've asked this question because you reminded me I need to say this again and again, because I have hundreds of new followers every week, and most of you are first-time buyers. And the answer is this: you can offer anything you like to anyone because it's just an offer, right? You don't need permission. You don't need anything from anyone. You can offer anyone anything. You might get laughed out of the room. It doesn't matter. What astonishes me is how many buyers think, "Oh, can I offer this? Am I allowed to offer this?" Of course you are. The thing is that you must do it with confidence. Otherwise, they'll see through that you're just, for terribly British, I'll just pay asking price. So yes, you can offer below the listed asking price on new builds. They don't want you to think that. And they will tell you, "Oh, no, sorry, stick a price or nothing, I'm afraid." And you go, "Well, that's fine." This is why you always put your offers by email. You send your offer and say, "Listen, thank you for showing me the house. This is the maximum I'm prepared to offer for the house that I saw yesterday. Don't worry if you can't accept it, but if you can, let me know." Simple as that. So, and not just on new builds, on anything. On a car, on a brand new car, on a second-hand car. You can always make offers. Even anywhere, in a shop. You'd be amazed how many times you can make an offer on something and people say yes. Now, I am starting to run out of puff and steam. And so many things.
We've got a John Auld there, moving home with Charlie for Stig. US 30-year Treasury rates are going up and flagging high rates for the long term. What's your view on UK rates? John, I've been very clear from last year. I don't think they're going to drop very much. They may temporarily get down to around 3%, but I think long-term UK rates will be at 3.75 to 4.25%. Historically, we've always been around the 4% average, 3.9 for over 150 years. We had some weird blips during the inflation of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, where we ended up with 11% rates. But since then, they dropped to 5, and then we just had 13 weird fucking years of 0.5% rates. 4% makes sense with the current sort of setup. It would be slightly higher, only we're not productive anymore. So 4%.
Cool. Right, this is the last batch of questions. This is a comment from Freddie Moses, by the way, very helpful. At the moment, new builds won't accept below the lender's percentage for incentives. That's true. What that means is that if they're giving you cash back, the cashback value cannot exceed a certain percentage of the asking price.
Yeah.
This is a great question. Danny Kataria, sorry if I got that pronunciation wrong. What's the best thing to do in a best and final offer stage? And why do I just do this? Right, there's a very good reason why. Because what happens is people tend to make an offer and they go, "Yeah, that's my best offer." And then they hear someone else's offer more. They go, "Oh, in that case, I'll offer a bit more." "Oh, in that case, I'll offer more." "Oh, it's no joke. That's what happens almost all the time if you've got competing buyers. So after 3 or 4 days of this, the agent goes, "Right, guys, your best offer, and it's your final offer by X o'clock on Friday." That's why they do it, because otherwise it's just a waste of everyone's time and it makes their job take much longer. And the best thing to do in the best and final offer stage is to put in your best and final offer.
Yes.
It's just make the maximum.
Which bit did you not get of that?
But the point here, Danny, is that if you follow my advice and you make your maximum comfortable offer at the beginning, rather than trying to save a few grand off what you could pay,
then you don't look like a chancer when everybody else starts to mess around.
And you won't get into the contest in the first place.
Exactly.
There'll be all those other idiots going, "Oh, I'm going to chip it." And you come
and sometimes sellers, I think I'm right, Charlie, don't always pick the person necessarily with the highest offer. Correct. They'll pick the one that they actually trust to deliver the money so that they can get the hell out.
They will pick the one who feels like they're the most reliable and likely to see it through as well. So again, stay out of that whole shenanigans if you can. This is a good question. Oh, this is for you, Alex.
Really?
I'm giving it to you. Is there any reason, this is from Andrew McLean Finney, is there any reason to think we aren't going to regress back to the long-term mean of incomes to house price ratio?
Oh, I mean, yes. But depends on what you mean by long term. If you mean are we going to go back to 3 times salary? No, we won't. Simply because now people often buy as couples. Women work. It's a really confusing thing. But the old three times salary was when men had much higher wages because there was much less competition for work. And then it became a thing. And I did a whole graph and chart about this, whereby it shows that an average person, male or female, has not been able to buy an average house with an average salary for the last 20 odd years. It needs 2 people. So part of that is I don't think it will go below 4.5 times income. What I'm scared about is they're going to extend mortgage terms. They're going to say, oh, no, you can have a 40-year or 50-year mortgage. And because it's so long, we'll actually let you borrow 5 or 6 times your joint incomes. And that's where it gets frightening. I hope that doesn't happen, but it is something I'm concerned about.
Okay. Right. I think I'm going to take this one last question. Neil says, will higher value properties be hit more or less? I think they'll be hit more. And this is an interesting observation. Plankman says, when interest rates trended towards 0, asset prices bought with debt trended towards infinity. Now interest rates are normalizing, an immense correction in asking prices has to follow.
Correct.
Don't disagree with that at all.
Plankman was the person who made the comment about 2008, by the way, earlier. So yes, Plankman, spot on.
And guys, I would also like to remind you, and in fact, I've had quite a few of these, so I'm a bit booked up now, but if you want to, if you can book a half an hour or 1 hour video slot with me on that URL down there. Of course, buy me a coffee if you like, but that's down there is where you can book a 30-minute or a 1 hour one-to-one video call with me if you want to talk through your particular situation. I will never give you advice. I will always help you think through for yourself the pros and the cons of the different options. That's what I work out. Okay, but what I'll never do, and I can never give price advice either, like how much should I offer? But if you want me to help you figure things out and think things through, do a sanity check. That's what that's there for. So by all means, book me up. On that happy note,
very quickly,
yes,
Philip Hudgens, I would never say that. All I would say is when men did not eat quiche. And you have to be a certain age to understand that one.
Yes. Okay, well, on that mysterious note, thank you to everybody very much for watching. It's been fantastic. It's always fun. It's nice to get back in the saddle again a little bit. And we'll see you again very soon. Thanks, guys. Have a safe night and good luck in your transactions. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye, guys.